So here's what I have going on out here in the woods right now. I have some sawhorses set up with a hive set up on it. This wood duck house right here has a swarm that moved into it. I'm thinking just yesterday. It may have been the day before. I'm out here quite a bit. I have trails that go through the woods. I think I would have noticed it if it moved in sooner than the last couple of days. But I have wood duck houses all over the place out here. I've got another one on this tree here. There's one like way back there. There's another one over this way. I've got several wood duck houses, and I've never had honeybees move into one before, especially because I have swarm traps all over the place, and they ignored every swarm trap for that space up there. So this is pretty full. Let's take a look here if I can zoom in on it. You can see there's not much space. So I'm assuming it's packed with bees, or maybe they're just drawing comb out from the top and they're blocking that entryway right now. Either way, my plan currently, and it could change once I get up there and start messing around, my plan is to back the gator up, climb up on the gator, try to take down that wood duck house, and I have it like air stapled with an air gun. I have it stapled together with some pretty lengthy staples, so I'm thinking I'm going to be able to maybe just pop the top off of that, because getting the sides off would involve peeling off the front and the back and the bottom and the top. So I'm hoping to just pop the top or maybe the bottom off and get the bees out that way. I've got some honey right there. I'm going to put it all over inside this hive because that might help keep them in there once they're actually in there. And I'm going to see how this goes. I'm definitely going to be putting on my bee suit over there. Not going to try this without that. So I'm going to get around and get at it. So the wood duck house was being held up with 6 screws that were in the top and the bottom of the backboard. And turns out over the years, all of those screws had broke off except 2 of them. So right, I only really had 2 that I had to back up. Taking a look down inside that wood duck house, there's actually more drawn out comb than what I expected. I thought this hive had just moved in, but apparently it's been in there long enough to get at least a little bit of comb drawn out. Breaking into the box was a little bit harder than I thought it would be because I put so many staples in there and I wood glued the darn thing shut, and look at that. It's like a bunch of comb in there. I did not expect to see so much comb. I expected to see way more bees and less comb. All of this comb kind of changes plans a little bit. I'm going to have to try to take each one of these frames, if you will, of comb out little by little and one by one and see if I can find the queen. And if I can't find the queen, then I know that I've got to just get all of the bees in this box. So I got super lucky. If I used this paint scraper and just started scraping a little bit of that comb that was attached to the top, the whole thing came right out just fine. And look at, there's a bunch of brood on this comb, and a bunch of it's capped over. All of that brood lets me know that these bees have been in here for like a week at least. I really don't have a good way to get this drawn comb down into the hive and like put it in a frame or anything like that because it's such an odd shape and there's so much of it. So I'm going to just set it in the top of this empty medium super that I have here. And I'm going to just let it sit down in there, and then once this hatches, I'm hoping that the bees backfill this with some honey and don't use it to keep laying on because all of the frames down below are drawn out frames. It's kind of neat to take apart a hive that's a natural hive, if you will. I know it's not in a natural setting, but it's drawn out the same way that they would make this comb up inside a hollow cavity of a tree. I never did see the queen, but I wasn't spending a ton of time looking for her on each one of these pieces of brood here. I didn't want to spend too long doing this and get these bees worked up because right now they were actually being super calm, and I really think I could have done this whole thing without a bee suit on. I just wasn't willing to take the risk because you never know. After spending some time looking inside the duck house here for the queen, hoping maybe I'd find her down inside, I noticed the bees were already working their way into the actual beehive and trying to get to that top box. That tells me that there's enough queen pheromone up there that the queen probably moved her way in herself or was on one of those pieces of brood that I stuck inside the top there. And as you watch this, you can see bees slowly working their way in there on their own. And I'm going to turn the camera here in just a second and we'll watch them start climbing out of the duck house and into the box. It's a pretty steady line of bees that climbs from one side to the other. You can see it there. They're going to where the queen is at. They can smell that pheromone strong enough. They know what they're doing, so I'm confident that I got her in that hive. Okay, I'm back. It's the next morning here, and we had some pretty good storms last night. And I don't know if I left that thing cracked like that. Maybe I did to help get the smell of the queen and the fact that the hive moved out there, because there were still quite a few bees flying around where that wood duck house was hanging out of the tree at. Maybe something lifted it up. I don't remember, but the outer cover is crooked. But the bees are still in there. They're coming and going through that upper entrance that I have, so that's good news. I'm going to give it some time and make sure that the bees are okay and that some of that brood starts to hatch before I move this hive over to my bee yard. I know it's kind of rough because they're going to get established to there, but I want to make sure that brood actually hatches.